saying, what? It's maybe a few days later, but for me, it's like 2 minutes since the last video, so hence same jumper. People say, why are you saying you're wearing the same? I'm not going to remember what the hell you were wearing. I don't know. I don't know. So, March. What did I watch in March that was non-horror? Because we're going to talk about horror separately, because we know how much I love my horror. So I tend to watch more of it than anything else. So I'm doing a separate video about horrors I've watched this year. So in March, movies I watched that I want to tell you how I felt or recommend if you perhaps haven't seen yet. So the first movie on the list, and one I've been dying to see since I heard people talk about it, and it took ages for me to be able to stream this one, is called Sing Sing. And listen to the little birdies singing outside. You probably can't hear them. They've shut up now. That's fucking typical, that is. Yeah, right. So Sing Sing is set in a prison, and this, right, the minute I start talking, they start singing. It's set in a prison, and it's about a program within the prison where the prisoners get to put on like plays and musicals within the prison. And it's about the relationships between the different prisoners, the dynamic between them, stuff that's sort of like they're dealing with themselves, how this program brings them out of themselves, how perhaps it creates in them a love of something that they'd never quite imagined before. It gives them something to concentrate on, something to enjoy while they're there. It gives them a real sense of camaraderie. They learn to depend on one another. The sort of like the most hardened of them kind of softens. We get sort of relationships forming. It's not a fast movie. If you like character studies, if you like dramas, I would heartily recommend Sing Sing. This movie, surprisingly, other than a couple of actors in here, is all acted by the actual inmates themselves. So some of the performances here are like staggering. It's like, you're not an actor. So we do have a couple of actors with the two main roles that I can think of, but everyone else plays themselves in this movie, which is really interesting. I would definitely recommend it. I'd give that a 3.5 out of 5, so that's Sing Sing. The next one on my list is one that I was a bit trepidatious about, which is Mickey 17. I don't really have an opinion either way about Robert Pattinson. I don't mind the Twilight movies. I loved him in The Lighthouse. I do think he is a good actor that just needs the roles. I'm not a big sci-fi fan per se, but I love the concept behind the fact that he is constantly like what's the word? Like they print new versions of him, and this is number 17. The movie, so the book is Mickey 7, meaning there were 7 versions, but the movie directors wanted to kill him more times than 7, so it became Mickey 17. So this guy is there with the purpose of going into very dangerous situations, and in a lot of the situations he's going to die, but they're sending him in there to do these jobs that normal people don't do. And this is a job that he is given. There's a word for it that escapes me at the moment. And this is a story about what happens when they think he has died and he hasn't. And we end up with 2 versions of Mickey. So obviously Robert Pattinson's playing 2 very different roles because the personalities of these 2 Mickeys are very different. Now, I was interested in this, but the amount of people I heard the reviews of say this was terrible, that the comedy was like too obvious. It was like hitting you over the head with stuff, and it was not good. I loved this. I watched it anyway. I found the comedy really irreverent and stupid, and I love stupid comedy. Obviously, Mark Ruffalo in this is aping Donald Trump, which amused me no end. I always forget the name of the actress that played his wife. She was in Hereditary. I always forget her name. I always want to say Thandie Newton. I know it isn't, but I've forgotten her name. She was really good in it. Robert Pattinson was excellent in it. It just was right up my street. I really enjoyed it. I was really entertained by it. It was really easy to watch, and my husband really liked it as well. We both really, really enjoyed it. So I would say if you've allowed the reviews for Mickey 17 to put you off, give it a chance. I did, and I really, really enjoyed it. Next is Novocaine. This is one that I didn't know an awful lot about until I heard some people review it. Meg's Movies reviewed this, and she said it was one of her favourites this year. So I'm like, let's have a go at this one. So this one covers a guy who I did not know was Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son. No idea. Now I know. This guy has a condition where he doesn't feel pain. So there's certain things he's never allowed himself to do in life, like eat things because he could chew his own tongue off. So he has liquidized food. Everything in his life is very controlled. He works in a bank. He's your very typical, dull, boring bank job. Nothing much exciting happening in his life until he falls for a new member of staff that's come into the bank, one of the bank tellers, and she sort of opens his eye to new things like cherry pie, for instance. I could do with a bit of cherry pie myself, actually. So at the beginning of this movie, he's just met this girl, he's fallen madly for her, and there is a bank robbery. There's a bank heist, and she is kidnapped. In this movie, he sort of has the personality where you wouldn't expect that he would do anything, but he sets off to try and rescue this girl from the captors, using his only talent, I suppose, in life, his inability to feel pain. And obviously he gets into some pretty serious scrapes, has some pretty nasty injuries, which can kind of all tend to be played for humour, which I quite enjoyed. There is a fabulous scene in it which is very reminiscent of, is it Bloodsport? Tong Po. If you've seen Bloodsport and Tong Po before he goes into the ring with Jean-Claude Van Damme, you will know the scene I mean. It's to do with Knuckles. And they use that in this, and it's like, oh, but you will find yourself like going, oh, at loads of the injuries in this. But it was, even though it's pretty heavy subject matter, it was really light, it was really funny, it was really refreshing. The performances were all spot on. Jack Nicholson's son's in this. I don't feel he's given enough to do. I feel we have a lot more to see from him. I want to see him. He plays one of the bad guys. I want to see more from him in the future. I feel he has capabilities beyond what he was given here, but I still really did enjoy Novocaine. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. So we have 3 more here. The next one I considered putting in my horrors video, but it's not listed, I don't think, as a horror, is The Rule of Jenny Penn. This is one I watched after seeing Aaron from Screen Star's review for it. I really liked what he had to say. The 2 main ones that we have here are John Lithgow and, oh, of course I've forgotten the other one. I'll put it on the screen. So this is an odd movie. It's a drama, but it is horrific in places, and not in like a gory, nasty way, but just in a psychologically tormenting way. This is set in an old people's home. And at the beginning we have, is it Jeremy something? Oh, fuck, I've forgotten the guy's name. So we have a court judge, an older court judge that we see at the beginning handing down a sentence in court, but then something happens. He has a medical emergency. We find out that he has taken a stroke. And because he has no family, he finds himself temporarily in this old folks' home. In the old folks' home, John Lithgow plays a character who is, it seems, pretty mentally unstable, very cruel, very nasty, gets away with all sorts for reasons best known to the filmmakers. I've no idea. The staff don't seem to be stopping things this guy's doing. He's abusing other patients, he's kicking them, he's pushing them, he's hitting them. He's coming into people's rooms at night and just doing horrible things. I won't go into detail because I don't want to ruin the movie. But this court judge is like, I'm not having this. There's a guy in the home as well that was an all black that was famous, this is set in New Zealand, and he is living in absolute fear of John Lithgow's character. John Lithgow's character has a little, to bring you the title of the film, has a little puppet that he has on it with like a doll's head with no eyes in it, a creepy looking thing, that he calls Jenny Penn. And he sort of like terrorizes everyone, and he makes people say, he asks them who's in charge, and they have to say Jenny Penn, and if they don't, he will do something horrible to them, or he will further torment them. This new guy, this judge, just doesn't want any of it. He doesn't want to be dealing with it. He doesn't like the unfairness of it. He's a judge, for God's sake. So he stands up against John Lithgow's character, and things really kick off within this retirement home. It is pretty creepy. The character John Lithgow plays is nasty, is horrible. I'm not going to tell you where it goes or what happens. I will say definitely give it a chance. It's just an implicitly well acted movie, and because it's something that really could happen, to me it makes it all the more creepy. But I really recommend The Rule of Jenny Penn. I thought it was excellent. 2 more things, guys. One of them is a piece of television which I feel most people will have seen, in the UK at least, called Adolescence. This is Stephen Graham's latest project. He stars and he wrote and directed this. He's such a fabulous actor. Everything he puts out is brilliant. But he handpicked the young lad that stars in this. He saw him in an audition and immediately said, right, I think we've found our guy. And this young lad, I don't know how old he is in real life, we'll say around 14. He plays a 13-year-old, I believe, or a 12-year-old. He has had no formal acting training. He went to an after-school club that someone from one of the soaps in the UK set up for kids. Nothing formal, but this young lad's acting is just extraordinary. This guy will win Oscars. He's fabulous. This is quite controversial in the UK at the moment because it's opening a lot of parents' eyes to things that perhaps they weren't aware of before that their teenagers are doing. This is the story of a young lad. It's based on a real story. This story itself is not real, but what happened is based on other stories where it's like knife crime and stuff in the UK. This movie starts with this young boy being arrested by the police. He's very young. He looks very innocent. His dad is like, what's going on? And he's marched off to the police station. His dad goes with him. And this movie follows the crime that he's meant to have committed, why psychologist, I think there's 4 episodes, psychologist interviews with this young lad and his complete change in character, the parents trying to come to terms with what type of person their son is. Now, this sort of like opened up a lot. Now, I could talk about this all day. I shan't. I have a 14-year-old son myself. Thankfully, he is a decent lad. He's very respectful of girls. He's not remotely sexist, none of that stuff. But this movie, there's a few things that it brought up as a parent of a teenager that I didn't know, and I know a lot of my peers also. There is a rule called the 80-20 rule, whereby this is people like Andrew Tate are teaching young boys this and fostering this new generation of young boys that hate women and that use women because they feel that they call themselves incels, and they feel they have been shit upon by women basically, and we're talking 12, 13-year-olds here. So the 80-20 rule is that these boys are taught that 80% of women are only attracted to 20% of men. So obviously you're going to find yourself as one of those men that women aren't attracted to, which in my opinion is bullshit, to be quite honest. There's someone for everyone out there. We all like different things. We're all attracted to different things. But he teaches these young lads that you want to take what's yours. If you can't get a girl fairly, you have to use what wiles you have. You have to trick them, you have to lie, you have to use, you have to blackmail, all these things. And they're talking about emojis that kids are using to mean certain things that's like, what the hell is this? What it really is educational from a parent's point of view as to what young kids are talking about and doing. And I think there is a real danger now that young, impressionable boys are listening to people like Andrew Tate, who's basically preaching that we should use women. And if a woman doesn't want you, that you just take from her what you can and discard her. And to be teaching young boys that is very, very dangerous. I mean, personally speaking, going back even to when I was much younger, as a woman, you learn. Now, please don't think I'm being sexist. I'm not. Not all men are this way. But you learn as a female, and if you're a woman watching this, you will probably agree with me. If you're in a social environment and a man approaches you to ask you, do you want to drink? Do you want to dance? Do whatever that may be, you can't say no. You can't say, no, you're all right, thanks, because a lot of the time you will get a, who the fuck do you think you are? Do you think you're better than me? Or you will get, oh, she must be a lesbian. So as a woman, you learn at a pretty young age, if you're approached by a man and you are not interested, that you have to lie, even if you're single, and say you have a boyfriend. And that's something that I learned from a teenager, that the reaction you get if you don't want to accept a drink or whatever it is anger. And I have even seen that from male friends that I have had in the past. guys that are actually pretty decent guys, but they get all up in their head and they get worked up to ask this girl out, and they finally go and ask her, and because she says no, all of the guys' mates, oh, she's a bitch. Who does she think she is? She's probably a lesbian anyway. So this has been around for a long time, and I myself have experienced it. Most girls know, just say you've got a boyfriend, because somehow if you denote to another guy that you are owned by someone else, and it sticks in my throat to say that, then they will leave you alone. They will have the respect for the other man. Oh, she belongs to someone else, but they won't respect the woman's right to say, no, I'm not interested. So, yeah, this delves into that, but at a much younger age, because people like Andrew Tate are teaching young men that they have a right to treat women this way, and it's fucking sickening. It really is. It also touches on, and I've always said this to keep the balance even, there's nothing as nasty in life as a teenage girl. And some teenage girls, especially in groups, in packs, can be vehemently nasty, horrible. Which is why growing up as a teenager, most of my friends were actually male. I've never been one for the clique. I've never been one for the bitchiness. In offices I've worked in, you get that female cliquey bitchiness. It's not my cup of tea. So while I'm saying, yeah, a lot of blokes can be like this, I'm also saying a lot of women can be like this. So when you mix that bitchy, condescending, almost bullying female energy, you also get that quite aggressive, defensive male energy, and it's about addressing that for younger kids. Very, very interesting. I've talked way too long about that, but I could do an entire video about it. I think as parents, it's up to us to make sure that we're talking to our kids about these things. A lot of parents put their head in the sand and they're like, well, my son's not that way. He would never do that. Or my daughter's not that stupid. She's not going to do that. People don't know what their kids are up to online, and I think it's, you need to have the conversations with your kids. You need to make sure if they're male that they have respect for women, that they understand that, although we're different, we're the same. They have the same rights and, that you have. They're no worse and no better than you are. I'm not a person that thinks that people should say men and women are equal in all senses, because they're not. Men will always be stronger, faster than women. Women will have benefits over men. That we have our own strengths, we have our own weaknesses, and we balance each other out pretty nicely. So you should never judge a person by something that maybe you're good at and they're not. And the same for boys against boys, girls against girls. But it's common sense, and it's making sure that your kids are aware, and that you speak to them about it, and you don't assume that this doesn't apply to your kid, because it applies to all kids. So I'm off my soapbox. That was Adolescence. Very thought provoking. I said to my dad, you should watch this, it's really good. He watched it. No, I didn't like that, it was boring. My dad, honest to God. And lastly, for March, I watched Snow White. Yes, I did. Because I thought, I need to see what everybody's bitching about here. I didn't think it was that bad at all. Now, I'm watching it from the point of view of someone. This is aimed at little girls, probably some little boys. I don't know. It's aimed at kids. It was sweet. The little CGI characters were adorable. My main issue was the CGI dwarves. I do feel that should have went to real actors. As massive of a Peter Dinklage fan as I am, I love the man. I don't know why he's getting his nose out of joint about using real little people actors, because he's had his break. He's famous. He's a fabulous actor, but there's a lot of other actors out there that would have been pretty fucking annoyed that his complaints have taken away other actors' chances. There's 7 roles there that could have been filled by real actors, and instead we're doing CGI. And we do have another little person in the movie playing a different character. So it's like, what? I don't understand. I had issue with that. I do feel we should have had real actors. We're bowing down too much to, oh, we can't possibly offend this person and offend that person. Why is it offending a person to use an actor that fits a role? It's ridiculous. It's like, ugh, it's like making James Bond female, or it's like, just fucking give a man the role. It's like, ugh, I just don't get it. We're not pigeonholing, or we're not leaving people out by giving someone the role that fits the role. Anyway, I thought the CGI little like characters, the little like animals is the word I'm looking for. I thought they were super sweet. I thought the lead actress was very good. I'm not going into any of the politics of stuff that she or Gail Gadot, what's her first name? Gal Gadot? Anyway, I'm not going into any detail about anything they've said, because it's, you know, I don't know an awful lot, and it's not shitting over the film as far as I'm concerned. But I didn't think Gal Gadot's voice was that bad. People say her singing voice is bad. I didn't think so. I think her singing voice is in tune and is pretty average, but the other girl's voice was so fucking good. It's going to make anyone's voice sound not the best. Some of the songs I liked, some I wasn't that keen on, but this is aimed at kids. And I feel for kids, there's everything in here. I loved Gal Gadot, fuck, whatever it is, when she's the old woman with the apple. I loved that whole scene. I thought it was marvelous. I liked the effects here. I thought the acting was all fine for what it was. It was carried. I don't know the main actress's name, apologies. I thought she carried the whole thing very well. It's just a shame she said some pretty stupid things in interviews, which has clouded a lot of people's view on watching the movie. But I did not expect to enjoy this movie, and I did. I actually gave it a 3 out of 5, which surprises me no end. Snow White and Cinderella are my two favourite old Disney movies. I have so much love for both movies. I expected to really not like this, and I did enjoy it. I don't know why people hate it so much. I liked it. So there we go. So that is much longer than the last one because I went off on a rant about adolescence. So thanks for watching, guys. I have one more video to film today, which is the horrors I've watched this year and what I thought of them. And then hopefully we'll try and get back on track with more regular videos going forwards, depending on parents' health and stuff, and depending on how long each one of them can stay out of fucking hospital. We shall see. I'm a bit frazzled, but I'm here. I'll try my best, guys. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Over and out from Lisa Loves.